This is a video I've been wanting to do for a while, and that is covering my single cell AAA EDC flashlights. And I read about the Phoenix E01, and that was the first one I bought. And I liked it so well that I bought some basically copies of it, for lack of a better term. Copies with upgrades, with better LED emitters and so on. And these are actually all kind of similar to the Maglite solitaires I used to have. I used to have a bunch of those. And I got them for free back when I used to smoke a long time ago. I got them from Camel, I think. But that's a story for another day. Anyway, those were single AAA flashlights that had you twist the head to turn it on, and they had a little incandescent bulb, and they were okay, they were handy. But all of these do the same thing. They have, you twist the head to turn it on, and I used to not prefer that. I used to prefer a push button, but I've changed my mind about that because I've found through use that the twisty switch is more robust and reliable and lasts longer, and less stuff to go wrong and less likely to turn itself on in your pocket. Because I've had problems with pretty much every clicky switch I've had on something that you can carry in a pocket. Not all of them, but you know, the ones I haven't had problems with is only because I haven't used them that much, and I'm sure they'll eventually have problems, because the ones I've used very much, I eventually have problems. So anyway, I wrote down some specs on these, and I did some beam tests already, and we'll go to that next. But I'm just going to describe these lights first. And the first one is the first one I got, the Phoenix E01. Now, none of these are available anymore, by the way, unfortunately. But the E01 it's got your typical cool LED tint, and it puts out, it's rated at 13 lumens, and it's supposed to go 16.5 hours on a AAA battery, AAA alkaline battery. All of these specs are for alkaline batteries. And it's one thing I like about it is it's what's called a jewel thief, or that's joule the measure of power, not jewel as in, you know, emeralds or whatever, although it's obviously intended to sound that way when they call it a jewel thief. But anyway, it's also called a battery vampire, and what it is a circuit that allows it to work. It actually has a little transistor in it, and it allows it to work all the way down to pretty much zero output of the battery. It'll continue working long before long after the battery has enough juice in it to power anything else. And so you can actually use these batteries in something else and then put them in this and run it the rest of the way down. So they're very economical from that sense. And only 2 of these are actually jewel thieves or battery vampires. The other 2 are not. So the E01 Phoenix it was the first one. And the second one that I bought is a Sofern C01, and it's got a 3200 Kelvin UG emitter in it, and it puts out 5 lumens. That's just a little bit more than a a third of the power of the E01, but 5 lumens is still quite useful, I find, and it's supposed to go over 40 hours on a battery, so that's pretty good. 40 hours versus 16.5 hours, 5 lumens versus 13 lumens, but it's got a super nice tint though. It's got a warm tint. Okay, the third one, which is not a jewel thief or battery vampire, is the Thor Fire Tk0, and it's got a warm tint too. Not as warm as the Uji, but it's got a Nokia 219C emitter, and it puts out 85 lumens. It's got a lot more power than these first two, but it won't run nearly as long either. And I haven't found any real specs on how long it will run on a battery, but I believe it to be about 30 minutes. Definitely much less, anyway. Okay, now this last one, it's a nice little flashlight, and it's the only one. It's still a twisty, but it's the only one that has multiple modes. It has 3 modes, no strobe or anything like that. It's made of solid copper, and it's just got low, medium, and high. And the low is a what they call a Moonlight setting. And what it does is when you first turn it on, and I like this feature, it always comes up, unless you have just had it on. It has a capacitor in there, I guess, that drains down. So if it's been off for at least a few seconds, it comes up in the Moonlight mode, and you turn it back off and on again, and it goes to the next setting, which is medium, and do the same thing again, and it puts it on high. So it also, like the Thor Fire Tk0, it has a Nokia 219C emitter, and that's a nice color temperature, nice warm light. And the specs for it, and it's a 4000 Kelvin. Both of these, the 219C is 4000 Kelvin color temperature. Okay, now this, the Raylight Copper Pineapple, is in Moonlight mode. It's 0.1 lumen, 1/10 of a lumen, and that's very little light, but you'll see it's useful. I like it, and especially if your night vision is built up and you're using it indoors, you can find your way around with it on Moonlight mode without destroying your night vision, and that's a good thing. Another good thing is that it's rated to go 100 hours on one battery in the Moonlight mode. Okay, now the medium power mode is 15 lumens, so just a little bit more than the Phoenix E01, and it does that for 5 hours. And high is 125 lumens, and it does that for 40 minutes, supposedly. Okay, now, and you can also use a TM440 lithium ion cell with it. And I'm not sure, I think I might have written this down wrong, or they're incorrect about this or something, because I don't know. It says 125, according to what I wrote down, 125 lumens for 40 minutes. Okay. Now, the reason I'm questioning that is because I think that it actually, on high, puts out slightly less power than the Thor Fire Tk0, which is rated at 85 lumens. So, anyway. It's pretty close, though. Now, like I said, unfortunately, none of these are available anymore. But Raylight does have a single cell AA flashlight, copper pineapple flashlight available, and it's, you know, similar to that, only bigger because it takes a AA. And I'll provide a link to that. I plan to get one. I don't have one yet, but as much as I like this one, I think I'll really like the AA version. And the specs on it are 0.2 lumens on the Moonlight mode. So that's double what this one does on Moonlight, so it'll be even more useful. Now get this. It's supposed to go 30 days on a battery in the Moonlight mode. 30 days. That's awesome. Okay, and then it's got 4 modes actually. Moonlight. Okay, and then the regular low is 3.2 lumens, and it'll do 70 hours on a battery. Now, 3.2 lumens, that's pretty close to the output of this, which is 5 lumens. That's the Thor C01. And that's a useful power level. Okay, so 3.2 for 70 hours. It'll do 30 lumens for 5 hours. 30 lumens is, well, that's a pretty good level. On high, it does 130 lumens for 1.1 hour. Okay, so that's a little bit more than this one. And you can also use, see, that's quite a bit of light. You can also use a 14500 lithium ion battery in it instead of a AA. And it'll do 470 lumens rated. And that, again, is for 1 hour. So it's worth looking into. And I wish all of these were available now, but unfortunately they're not. But the AA Raylight copper is available, and I don't expect it to be available for long because all of these are limited production items. So with that, let's go to the beam shots. Okay, so here's what we've got going on tonight. Just hanging out at camp. Got a nice fire going in the wood stove. I've got the little radio tuned to 10 meters AM. I called CQ for a little while, but nobody came back to me. CB is hopping tonight, but 10 meters doesn't seem to be doing much, at least on the AM end of the band. I called CQ on the FM portion too, and nothing heard. But anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to test these flashlights. And what we've got is the original, the Phoenix E01. These are all single AAA battery, single cell AAA everyday carry type lights. And I actually carry the Phoenix E01 and the Thor C01 every day. And both of those are low power, and they have Joule Thief or battery vampire type circuits, so they'll run on a battery that won't run anything else. So the batteries last a long time on them. And we're going to do some little bit of beam testing here in the tent. And so anyway, the Phoenix E01, the Thor C01. Now here we got the Thor Fire Tk0, and it's single mode also, but it's a lot brighter, and it also eats the batteries a lot faster. And now let's switch to that one and show you the one that we're using for light right now. So that's the Raylight Copper Pineapple, and that one's a 3-mode light. So I really like the Moonlight mode. It's not enough to operate the camera, but it's enough to do most of what I need to do here in the tent, and without destroying my night vision. And plus it lasts a long time on that mode on a battery. But so I'm not sure what kind of emitter the E01 has in it, but it's a cool tint, which I don't like. I like the warmer tints. So I like the C01 a lot better. In fact, it's got my favorite beam, and it's kind of low, but it's very warm. It's like 3000 or 3200 K. And then both the Copper Pineapple and the Thor Fire, which I'm using as the light right now, both of those have the Nokia 219C, and that's a nice beam color, but it's not as nice as the Uji that is in the Sofern. And that was a special edition, the Sofern. Not all of them have that emitter, but pretty much had to special order it like that, and I don't think they're available like that anymore. In fact, I'm not sure if any of these lights are available anymore. But let's set it up, and you see I've got some new batteries out here. So even though the batteries are good in all of these, I'm going to swap them out for identical new batteries out of the same pack, so that we're all on the same page. So let's pause while I do that. Now some of you might like the cooler tints, and this is it. We're starting out with the E01, the Phoenix E01, which is a cool tint, and we're gonna turn on the Sofern, and this is my favorite tint, so we're gonna compare it. Got much more of a hot spot with the Sofern. Tell you what, with the Phoenix, let's point it kind of at the floor. Okay, that's the Phoenix E01. See that? There's not a hot spot. It's really floody. But man, that is an awesome color. That looks like an incandescent light. Okay, so now we're going to keep the E01 Phoenix on, and we'll try the Thor Fire. Now this is the 219 Charlie. Wow, see, it's a warmer temperature. See, I don't know if you can really tell or not, but it is. See, switching between one to the other, you can really see the 219C is not as warm as the UG emitter, but it's quite a bit warmer than the Phoenix. So I still like that. Okay. Of course, that uses it's making a lot more light because it's using more current. And it does that at the expense of battery life, of course. But, alright, now, let's try the Copper Pineapple, which has the same emitter. And we're going to turn this off. Let's see if you can even see anything from the Moonlight mode of the Copper Pineapple. I don't know. Yeah, I guess you could see that. And it does have you know, a little bit of a hot spot in the middle, but it's not a very bright one at all. And I mean, it truly is moonlight mode, but you know, it's enough to find your way around inside. You know, do what you're doing inside. And I think that it's supposed to last a long time on this mode. I don't remember how many days, so I don't want to say, but I'll look it up. Unless I already did and told you about it. Okay, there's the next mode. Okay, now remember, this is the same emitter as the Thor Fire, which is a single mode. So let's compare it. Okay, the Thor Fire is still making more power. So let's step up one more. Okay, there's the high power. There's the Thor Fire. Still more. Let's see if there's another one. Nope. So even on the highest power, now that's a lot of light though. Make no mistake, you don't, unless you're needing it for throw outside, you don't really need any more than that. So obviously if you do need throw outside, then you need the Thor Fire. But it's just a single mode, and it absolutely uses the batteries a lot faster than even the Copper Pineapple, which is this one, on high power. So anyway, let's try the Phoenix again. You can kind of see it just because of the difference in color temperature. But this is a lot more usable light though, because it's warmer. It's much higher color rendering index, CRI, and it's closer to incandescent light and our daylight. And so, you know, that's a really useful little light. It's got enough on high to really do something with. And I think you can put a 14500 lithium in this one too. Again, I'll have to look that up and make sure, but I think you can. And when you do that, it probably, I'm pretty sure it does more even than the Thor Fire does in terms of power. But I tell you what though, that Thor Fire, you know, if you want the batteries to last a long time, this is not the one you want, but, which I guess it'll last a while. But for outdoors, you know, this is a really good one to use. So there's that.